Be careful not to get lost in these labyrinth streets. We are now in the old Jewish quarter, known as the Col de Barcelona. Let's go to the synagogue.
The Jews spread throughout the Roman Empire, creating small communities. In the Middle Ages, although Europe was dominated by Christianity, these Jewish communities continued to exist in the main cities, where they were grouped into kahal, for religious and security reasons. The Barcelona kahal was one of the most important, comprising some 4,000 people. The Jews did not have it easy and suffered persecution and expulsions in different places: England, France, cities in Germany.
Here, in the Christian kingdoms of what is now Spain, although three religions coexisted, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, the Hebrew community also encountered growing intolerance from the 14th century onwards. No, we're not talking about COVID-19. We're talking about the Black Death, which wiped out about a third of the European population.
Why then? Well, the 14th century was a time of crisis. First of all, because of years of famine. But then there was the arrival of an unknown disease from China, which spread rapidly and caused devastating pandemic. Barcelona at the time was the main port of the Crown of Aragon, which encompassed Valencia, Majorca, Corsica, Sardinia, and Sicily, with an extensive trade network. That is why the disease came early. Today, we know that the bubonic plague is a bacterium, which was transmitted by fleas, which in turn nested in rats.
But at that time, without the knowledge, they needed to look for a culprit: the Jews. Some thought it was a punishment from God for living with them. Others directly accused them of poisoning the water. For the common people, it was striking the number of infected and dead people in the Jewish community was lower than the Christians. The probable reason for this is that the Jews had better hygiene habits. Add to the fact that many Jews were money lenders and wealthy, and you have the perfect cocktail for a climate of hatred and tolerance that gradually grew until it exploded in 1391.
In that year, riots against Jews broke out in several cities. One day, an angry mob headed this way, overrunning the local militia and royal officials. The masses made their way through, burning and looting the neighborhood, capturing Jews and taking them to the nearest church to be forcibly converted to Christianity. Those who refused were killed. At least 300 were counted dead, something that, some 100 years later, would become generalized with their expulsion from the crowns of Castile and Aragon, ordered by the Catholic monarchs Isabella and Ferdinand.
Royal justice acted by hanging many of the aggressors, but the Jewish community could not recover from the damage. Within a few years, in fact, Jews were banned from residing in the city. This was to become generalized some 100 years later, in 1492, with their expulsion from the crowns of Castile and Aragon, ordered by the Catholic monarchs Isabella and Ferdinand.
Little remains of the Jewish community here, except for this small building, the main synagogue. With its origins in Roman times, this was the main synagogue of the 5 synagogues that existed in medieval Barcelona. After the 1391 assault, it came under royal rule and was later used as a dry cleaners. It is now a museum, but it is also used to celebrate some Jewish festivities.
So much of the history of the Jewish quarter in Barcelona, but remember our next stops, we will be walking through the streets of the Jewish quarter and Barcino.